this is Mrs. Spitz again. Good to see you. Welcome to class. Today we have a class on Introduction to the Algebra Lab Gear. So if you are at home and you have your lab gear, I want you to put it out on maybe a napkin or something that you might have a placemat, and put it out so that you have yellow material and then the blue that looks like this, and the flatter blue ones that don't have any lines in them, and then the three-dimensional figures, okay? And we will go over the names. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that, and then we will come back. You will also have a corner piece in your set, and just put that out on the side because we'll be doing some multiplication with that. And then I'd also like you to have your paper, which is the Algebra Lab Gear sheet. We're going to label these pieces, all right? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to go over are the yellow pieces down here, all right? So let me write that up on the board here. We have the yellow material, and they stand for constants. Constant means it does not change, and those are numbers in our number system. They never change, right? Number 3 is always going to stand for 3, whatever we have. So let's look at these constants for a minute. So we have the units. These look like little cheese squares. You might notice that. And we can count lots of numbers with them, all right? Okay, we might do that in a second. If I put 5 of these together, like this, I make a 5 bar, and what's nice about this is they've attached these little squares together, these cubes together, so we have many little 5 bars that we can use for counting. And then if you take 5 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, together, you have a 5 by 5 square, which is 5 squared, or 25, and it fits together just like that, right? So right now, let's go ahead and make, I'm going to put these back here. Let's make number 13. Okay, so for 13, I could use 2 of my 5 bars. There's 10, and there's 3 units, so I have 13, right? So let's do 21. All right, so 21, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 21. There we go. And how about 30? What could you make with 30? Oh, well here, I could actually use this 5 square, that's 25, plus another 5 is 30. There we go, okay? So just a little example of making numbers, which we'll do as we move along with the material. Okay, so right now, go to your paper, and let's label that first top row. So we had 1 for the unit, we had 5 for the 5 bar, and then we had 25, which we said was 5 squared, okay? So label that top row as that on your paper. All right, we're gonna look now at the blue material. And these are not constants, we call these variables. And variable means it can change, right? So the blue material are variables. And we have 2 very common variables in algebra that we are going to use. These are the most common ones, x and y, and I'd like you to make a loopy y in my class because it's easier to discern it. Sometimes people make y's like that, but sometimes they might look like x's, right? So get into the habit of making this little loopy y. Thank you. All right, so variables, let's look at these. We're gonna go to this next row here, and we are going to work with the corner piece on some of these. So this row, we're going to start with our x bar. The x is small as opposed to the y, which is longer, right? And why would that be? Well, I don't know, they just picked that. But one little memory technique, you can think of x is small when you write it, y has that loopy tail, it's longer. So that's really one little memory trick you can use, okay? In this one, if we put some of these x's together like this, we can make a 5x, and that's called 5x. So we have x, we have 5x, we have our y that we just talked about, and here, if we put 5 y's together, we have 5y. So those are all of the ones on the next row here. We have x, we have y. Whoops, I guess I missed a little few here, but we'll just label these. We have 5x and we have 5y. And we're gonna go back and get this next one here. Okay, let's do this. Let's go to this one. I'm gonna use this corner piece, this measuring piece here, and I'm gonna see what's on each side. I have an x and I have an x. And I know that's a square, so it's x squared. So go ahead into that middle of the second row, and we're gonna put that little baby 2 there, that exponent. Remember we talked about exponents the other day? That means x times x, which is x squared, okay? All right, that back. And let's go to this next one here, which is the large square. All right, I'm gonna put that in my corner piece, and I wanna measure that as well. See, it has a y on one side, y on the other. Remember, if we have 2 dimensions, we're talking about area. So this is a y square. And I'm gonna put that little baby 2 up there as the exponent. It's y taken by y, which is y squared, okay? Now we have one more piece here on our paper in the middle, which is here. So I want to take that, and I want to measure it in my measuring piece or corner piece. So I have an x here, and I have a y here. So that means we've taken x times y. So it's a rectangle, and it's x times y. So that means that's the area, xy. Remember, it's 2 dimensions, length times width, okay? So now we get to go to this back row. Some really big pieces here. All right, these are 3-dimensional. 3-dimensional means we're working in volume now. We have 3 dimensions, right? Length times width times height. So let's look at this small one here. The smallest of the cubes. We're going to put it into the measuring corner piece, and we're going to measure it. So we have length times width times height, and it's an x cubed now, okay? So underneath this little baby cube, we're going to put x to the 3rd power, because we've taken x times itself 3 times, right? Length times width times height. All right, now we get to look at the large one. Okay, I'm gonna move these out. We're gonna take this large cube, and you might actually be able to figure out what that's gonna be, given we did the x cubed. But this one has a y, right, for length and width and height. So we've got y cubed there. Little tricky to have those y's stand up there, but label this as y cubed, okay? All right. And we have 2 more that we're going to be working with. So I'm gonna move this back onto my mat. And let's go ahead and do the tower. This is pretty cool. All right, so we have on this side, we have a short one that's the x length and width, right? 2 x's, but then we have a tall y here for the height. So we have x times y, all right? So in order to abbreviate that, we're going to have x squared times y, because it's x times x, and you can see the square on it, right? It's a square, x squared times the height, which is y. That's pretty cool. All right, and then the last piece that we have to go over is this larger square that I'm going to use as the bottom here and put that in, all right? So what side is that going to be? Yeah, we're not in the x there. That's definitely a y, isn't it? And this side, length times width, that's y, because it has a y square. And the height is our x. I'm going to show you something on the board for a minute here, okay? Because those 3 dimensions, we have y times x. So that y times y is a y squared, right, times the x. But in algebra, we like to write our variables in alphabetical order. So we're going to write x, y squared, okay? We just put that x first. So go ahead and label your paper with that as x, y squared, all right? So now you have all your pieces labeled for your lab gear, and I'd like you to try to learn these names of all the pieces. So you can play a game with them at home. You can take the piece, see if you can write little labels and try to match the labels to the pieces, all kinds of things. But that concludes our lesson for today. We'll do many more things with the lab gear as we move along, but I hope you enjoyed the lesson and have fun working with the lab gear at home and learning the names, okay? See you next time. Bye.